out there.
By the way, I'm a fan of Bill. I read through this, Will, and I appreciate Bill Barnwell on this one. I preach this one often, but go ahead.
He does a good job.
I preach this
one. So, last season with the Titans, when teams went an entire possession without being sacked, they scored touchdowns 26.5% of the time, averaged 2.3 points per drive. If they took at least one sack, teams in the NFL last season scored touchdowns on 8% of drives, 1 point per possession. So if you get sacked in the NFL, your drive's usually done.
Yeah.
Drive killer.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, last season, Will Levis had a 12% sack rate. 12% sack rate. That is the worst in the league for a quarterback who started at least 10 games. Adjusting for era, Bill Barnwell says, this was the 12th worst sack rate for any passer who started at least 10 games in any season since 1950. 1950, 12% sack rate. The reason why this is such a bad thing for Will Levis, Ramon, is Mason Rudolph's sack rate last season was sacked 4.5% of the time behind the exact same offensive line. This is for all the people who say, well, Will Levis deserves a chance to play again behind a better offensive line. I don't think he does because he's the problem.
Yep. And this shows it too. And I'm glad you brought this up. This is why, and on defensive of this one, I'll admit that. When we start speaking about sacks, right? Like, we're talking about guys. I was listening to 3HL a little bit yesterday, and I was listening to Coach Sales say, he was shocked by people making a big deal about Dan Moore's sacks and stuff like that, which is fine. Hey, I know it. It's the one thing the offensive linemen are judged by. And I'll continuously say, the sacks don't hurt you that much because you can sack a quarterback on second down and still make a first down. Did it really hurt you? The answer is no. Where sacks hurt you is this. Is if your quarterback just absolutely gets obliterated, right? Or he's hurt and you let him get hit again and it re-injures something. That's where sacks, I think, play a huge part in. Or at the end of the game, hey, you ended the game in a sack. It's situational sometimes with sacks. Looking at Will Levis's, this is, and you said this too, Will, and I wanted to stop you and ask you to give more emphasis. This is adjusting for the era. This is the 12th worst sack rate for any passer.
Yeah, that's what it says, right?
Yeah, I know, but this isn't just last year.
No, this is since 1950. Will Levis was sacked as much as anybody ever in the history of football who's made more than 10 starts.
So this is why the change was made for Mason Rudolph to somewhat give the offense a little bit of a optimist, mindset. That, look, he's going to get rid of the ball. He's going to deliver it on time. He understands the clock, the timing to standing behind the pocket to where he's either not running sideways, creating more chaos, or just simply holding and patting the football. You know what coaches love? Predictability for the ones that they're coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can predict you're going to get rid of the ball and make a play for us, or just simply don't make it a worse play, I'll roll with you. I'll rock with you. That's why I always bring up the idea that coaches love a quarterback that can run their system.
Mm-hmm.
Mason may not be the greatest at all, whatever, right? But what you do know is the ball's going to get out.
Ran the system.
And he's going to run the system.
Yeah.
That matters a lot.
And Mason had too many interceptions and too many turnovers and too many interception-worthy throws last season to really earn this starting job this year or even really be that bridge quarterback. But at the very least, the ball was coming out and you weren't consistently in 3rd and 13. Now, on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6, he was throwing the ball to the other team still too much. So Mason Rudolph is certainly not free from blame. And I'm not here to point fingers at Will Levis and say that Will Levis is the only reason why the Titans weren't good on offense last year. There were a lot of factors. But 12% sack rate when your backup was only sacked 4.5% of the time. Will Levis doesn't deserve a chance to play behind the new offensive line because, in my opinion, he's just going to make those guys around him worse if he does not make considerable improvements from what his issues were in taking pressure and not getting away from it last season.
And these are the things, to be quite honest with you. I think the turning point for Will Levis's ability to be a first-round draft pick to where he ended up at second round was the Ole Miss game of his senior year. I'll continually go back to that one because that was an NFL-style defense going up against him for a guy that knew pressure was on.
Sure. And
he turned the ball over and created sacks in those moments too. Sometimes you're just asked to do your job, and that's all that's all you're allowed to do. And when he is trying to be a showman or a guy that's over the top with his playmaking ability because you believe that you're the guy, no, sometimes it's better, Will, just ride in the back seat. The destination's going to the same spot. I promise you, we're going the exact same rate that you need to. And that's such a big learning curve for guys sometimes when they feel like they got to be the savior for a team. No, we're just asking you to do your job, and it's showing right now in this stat of 12.4%, 12.1% sack rate with the same offensive line. Now, true enough, those guys were bad. And what I will also say, too, is there is somewhat of a backup jump or backup boost at times, too, that can benefit the guy playing behind Levis, but I don't think, like, I know this. There were sometimes guys will walk into sacks, and we say, you know what, that's not okay. And Will Levis, I felt like, walked into sacks or held on to the football too long because he was unaware. That sucks.
I think the thing with Levis is, even going back to Kentucky, his inability to raise the level of the guys around him is his biggest flaw. And I remember that being the discussion around Levis when Mel Kiper, before he got fixated on Shedeur Sanders, was kind of fixated on Will Levis about the arm strength and the ceiling and the potential. And I was kind of on that train as well for a time at the beginning of his, kind of first season as the full starter at Kentucky.
Right.
But then you watch games like Ole Miss. You watch games like 2022 that Levis had against Tennessee. And if a quarterback is truly elite, it doesn't matter the competition. It doesn't matter the O-line in college.
Right.
Doesn't matter some of the weapons. You can see that elevation of, hey, this guy over here was not an NFL wide receiver prospect, but I turned him into one.
Yeah.
Or this offensive line isn't great, but you know what? I'm the one that's going to get away from that pressure and throw on the run and find somebody deep downfield. Because you can do that in college. The gap between good and bad is a lot wider than in the NFL, where the bad players are uber athletic and, physically elite, world-class athletes. It's not always the case in college football, even though in the SEC it is more so than any other place. That was always my big red flag for Levis, was his inability to, despite everything else, make it work.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that is what doomed him here, and is why Cam Ward's the new QB1.
It is, and it was a quick fix, too, with trying to find him being the guy. Like, and to your point about that, like, it's only so much, so many different ways you can just trick a team into seeing who you are and right. True, And let me ask you this, because I feel this way. My answer is yes. Do you feel like that Falcons game for him was probably the worst thing that could have happened? With respect to...
I don't know if it's the worst thing that could have happened. I mean, the worst thing that could have happened was the Bears game, where he just, went hero mode and just threw the ball to the other team and lost you the game with the help of special teams. But it set an expectation. You're 100% right.
For this fan base, I mean, and you're supposed to do this, so I don't blame them. But the Jeffrey Simmons, like, we got a quarterback.
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill sitting just right there.
Right.
It was too soon. And I think you say it often. You say this often. Ryan Tannehill deserves a whole lot more credit than he's
Absolutely
given.
Does. Absolutely.
And I think that was the start of his deterioration into, like, yeah, whatever. Y'all can have this one. And look what you got now with Will Levis.
That was it?
It's throwing the keys
for sure
to the car to a kid that's not ready. And I feel like that's what it was for Levis in hindsight.
I still think Will Levis, if he'd been drafted into the perfect situation, it could have worked. This was not the perfect situation for him.
I don't know what's the perfect situation for a guy like him. Does that mean sitting the entire year?
Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan or Mike McDaniel and sitting for a year or two?
I push back on that too.
Why is that?
Because his ability to work the pocket, maneuver the pocket, just didn't increase from college to the NFL in 2 years.
But that's my point, is that this offensive line didn't do him any favors. And if he'd been drafted into a clean pocket situation where you had kind of a wall in front of you, and you could have learned that without the bullets firing and getting you on your back as much as you were, maybe that's something you could develop. But it's not developed here. And I do think there is an argument to be made that this team certainly didn't do him any favors, right. Although he, I think, is still the main culprit in why he took so many sacks.
Yeah. And like I said, I would still push back just even a little bit on that one, because I wish I could find like the amount of sacks given up to him by him in college, and this is not here. But I challenge that in the sense that saying he had a good OL at Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And the pressure that he felt, and I go specifically to the Tennessee game and the Ole Miss games, like he still got rattled. He still showed these same character traits of what his quarterbacking play was going to be in the NFL. And I don't know if there was an offensive line in his first or second year in the NFL that would have settled him even more. Because I do think he got this macho man bravado to where it's got to be his show. And sometimes, Will, like, you just better off as a backup in those moments.
So 12%, the sack rate for Will Levis last season, 12th worst for any passer who started at least 10 games in a season since 1950, per Bill Barnwell. Last season, Cam Ward at Miami, 4.3%, his sack rate. When pressured, his sack rate was 14.5%, which is also better than the national average. So the good news is your new quarterback, this is a strength of his, getting away from pressure.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. College football news as we continue in hour 2. Changes to the college football playoff and some troubling numbers and trends. The amount of 4 stars and 5 stars that have transferred is a wild number over the past couple of seasons from 247 Sports, and we'll talk about that next.
We love being part of the moments that matter, which is why we're announcing employee pricing for everyone. You pay what we pay. Employee pricing at Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned, American made.
Ramon and Will on 104.5 The Zone and streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. So yesterday, Ramon Foster, we get the news that we expected from the college football playoff, which is moving to a straight seeding model this fall, rewarding the selection committee's top 4 teams with the top 4 seed in a first-round bye. The 10 FBS commissioners and Notre Dame's athletic director, who constitute the CFP's management committee, reached a unanimous agreement, making the change during a call yesterday. They also maintain the $8 million financial commitment to the 4 highest-ranked conference champs, $4 million for reaching the playoff and $4 million for reaching the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I like this for them, man. The first 4 seedings, I think, make the most sense. Why punish a team when they've clearly made themselves one of the top teams simply because they didn't win their division or win their conference? We're talking about like Alabama, Georgia. We're talking about Texas and UT. You know what I'm saying? So that matters, I think.
Love that from you.
Was that good?
Talking about Texas and UT. That's right.
Yeah, we're talking about Texas and UT, 100%. Who won the baseball game real quick? Do you remember?
Tennessee did, yes.
Only reason I'm doing this because if they had Texas won,
no, for sure,
we'd have heard from more than Texas fans.
Yesterday, just real quick, by the way, John Wilkerson, I was listening to him on the call on the Vol Network while I was driving to Murfreesboro. And John Wilkerson yesterday does what broadcasters do. He was describing the colors of the uniforms.
Yeah.
And just what it looks like. You know, Tennessee and the orange jerseys with gray pants, orange hats, and that T on the top with Vols in cursive. Then he goes, Texas in white uniforms with a brown stripe on the white pants. Texas in brown on the front of the uniform and a brown hat with a white bill and a brown T on the front. You know, some people would call that orange. It's brown. And the first pitch.
I love that.
I was laughing out loud. It was great.
He's so good, man. But he also
great.
tell the truth when they're bad. Yes. Those are the vibes on a day like this, man. A loss. So this is what we do. This is also why we're hated, too. I must admit. We run with
not
it.
Helping
and I'm okay.
Well,
we're not helping ourselves at all. We just got a new rival in Texas, but it's all good. But with that being said, the Notre Dame, does Notre Dame complicate the college football playoffs and college football in general?
Not as much now.
Okay.
So Notre Dame could be a top 4 seed now.
Top 4 seed, if they're that good. Yes, if they're that good. So that is what it is on this one. I like this process a whole lot more than trying to figure out just because you won your conference, you get a bye when you had a 9-4 record or something like that.
Honestly, the biggest loser in this is Notre Dame.
Is Notre Dame? Why so?
I'd rather be the 5 seed than the 1 seed in the old format.
In the old format?
Because you're going to play the worst conference champion. And when there's only 2 power conferences, let's be honest, it's power 2.
Yeah.
But the ACC every now and then, like Clemson is a worthy national champion this year.
Yeah, they are.
Clemson could absolutely win the national title. Miami is frisky to me, and
even with Carson back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I say frisky. I don't think Miami is a real championship contender. I think if Miami beats its ceiling, it can be a Final Four contender.
I'm with you there. I ride with that one.
But at the very least, if you're Notre Dame as the 5 seed, you get the worst team in the playoff as the 12 seed.
Yeah.
And then you play the worst conference champ, which is either Big 12 most likely or like Mountain West. Mm-hmm. You could have a G5 team.
Yeah.
That you're playing in the second round in a neutral site, and you get a home game as the build-up to it. Like, Notre Dame's the only team that really loses in this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is one time where their little club that they have as far as making money, not joining a division, hey, here we go.
This is the first time that they've been at a disadvantage in a minute. Yeah.
They're going to have to prove themselves, which is fine to me, though. This is what everybody's been asking for. I know they have, but like everybody's been asking for this. Keep doing it. Right. Absolutely. You don't get to ride in on a white horse every single year. And I feel like that's where a lot of, now if you want to call it jealousy or hates horse Notre Dame, that's where it happens. So you have the feeling that the Irish get the luck of the draw every single time.
Luck of the Irish.
Luck of the Irish.
So now with college football going to a straight seeding model, what is going to be the equivalent of the RPI or the net in college football? How do we have a uniform way of establishing strength of schedule in a sport where there is a wide range of what a team can be known as in September to December. And I'll give you the best example of that for last season with Tennessee, NC State.
Yep.
When Tennessee played NC State in Charlotte last season, NC State was a top 25 team with a great defense, a veteran quarterback in Grayson McCall who was going into that season, and they had playoff expectations. Dave Doran and that program, they did not end up being anything close to that. But at the time when Tennessee just absolutely spanked them in their home state, we're thinking, okay, this is a top 25 win for Tennessee. Is that really a top 25 win by the end of the season? Not really. But at the same time, you can make the argument that Tennessee exposed some cracks in the foundation that other teams were allowed to take advantage of. So in a way, it kind of was a top 25 win. It's the challenging thing that college football does not have that baseball and basketball do. There is a formula. There is a number that can be associated with RPI, with net ranking, with quad 1 wins, with quad 2 wins, where we have fact or fiction to know in real time what a team's power rating is. Not ranking, what a team's power rating is to understand. So if we're going to a straight seeding model, Ramon, it now becomes more challenging. Imagine the discourse we're going to be having this November between the 4 seed and the 5 seed, where just based off of top 25 wins, quality wins, record on the road, style points, should you be leaving your starters in to score 50 or 60 against the lower level teams in your division? We need a uniform way to establish strength of schedule and prestige in college football, and I don't know how we get it.
It may be flawed, but I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek. Go back to the old BCS model.
That's legitimately where we're at this point.
Go to the old BCS
because
model.
I don't think there's a place for numbers to establish everything. Like, there is room for nuance. So there's room for a committee to look at a team and understand that, the BCS was not a perfect system. However, I also think there's a place for real black and white analysis and numbers and ways to grade teams that everyone gets judged in the same criteria.
So with that being said, just off top, are we viewing Indiana seasons a little bit different in this model then too? Considering the teams they played was on the bottom end. They were on the bottom end. So instead of being, what were they in the season, like 7th, if I'm not mistaken, 7th, 8th last year? So did that make them like the 12th ranked team at the time? Considering who they played, when they played them also, and the losses that they had to better teams. Like, and I'm not, advocating to using the measuring, justifying the rankings when it comes to the teams, right? I do believe like the council should pick the teams based upon what the BCS tells them and have a human conversation instead of a computer conversation as to why Ohio State should be above Oregon or why Tennessee should be 7 instead of 9. Those are the conversations I hope that you have, but like getting the formula down, I do think having a computer justify that win wasn't as good. Or at the time in August, the Vols beating the 21st ranked NC State team did matter. It's not their fault. It's not the Vols' fault. It's not any team's fault that the teams get worse over the course of the season. You as a committee, you as a corporation, NCAA, gave them this ranking. They got knocked off. You shouldn't be penalized because they got worse over the course of the season. I still think that ranking should matter, in my opinion.
It is one reason why I am not totally opposed to the 16-team model, is the ability to earn one of those seeds in the top, 6 to 8, and earn those 4 spots based off of an entire conference campaign. Yeah. And within a 9-game conference schedule, then that play-in round in Atlanta, where you could have 1 versus 2 in the SEC championship game, 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5 to earn on the field in real time one of those seeds from the SEC in a way that is more meaningful than just, they played Ohio State and, Indiana. It was close for a little bit, but besides that, this is an 18-team conference. They had a totally unbalanced schedule, and they beat Purdue, and they beat Northwestern. And they beat all these really bad Michigan State, who's fallen off. Like, that is a tricky way to split hairs, and it is the positive to me in the 16-team model that we're going to get, where there's 4 automatic qualifiers in the Big Ten and SEC, where we take out some of the splitting hairs that is difficult in unbalanced schedules.
So here's the other part, too, where it becomes challenging to the fan of the teams, the have-nots, let's just call them that. Mm-hmm. You mentioned Michigan State. You mentioned Purdue being in this conversation. Last year, it'd be Mississippi State, right? Just trying to throw an SEC team out there to be fair and unbiased. Do we have to throw, at this point, sportsmanship out? The, hey, I'm pulling my starters conversation, as you mentioned earlier. Because if we're going off this model, the points, style points matter. Mm-hmm. How you beat a team from the first quarter to the end. Because I'm looking at to this same point. Indiana lost to Ohio State 38-15. You know what they did the next week to Purdue? 66-0. Mm-hmm. That's overkill.
I think those style points mattered for Indiana.
They did. They have to
100%.
Matter. So for the teams that are having this issue, or the idea that, look, I'm trying to win as best I can to get one of those 12 spots, you can never pull your foot off the gas.
I think it's also tricky for teams that can't keep backups because everybody's transferring.
We're going to have that conversation later.
Right now, actually.
Okay,
it's perfect transition
right,
because Chris Hummer put this out there yesterday on Twitter. A great follow at Chris_Hummer for 247 Sports. 46% of top 247 recruits, the best of each cycle, have transferred at least once during the portal era. If you remove 2023 and 2024 from that, 54.5% of the top 247 players in the country in the transfer portal era have transferred. So 5-star recruits, Ramon, transfer less than 4 stars. Part of that is because 5 stars have the chance to play more quickly. Yeah. They are less likely to have a veteran keep them from playing.
Or pay.
Right. 4-star recruits in the 247 era now in the transfer portal between 2018 and 2014. 4-star recruits are transferring 48.5% of the time. 5-star recruits are moving on 33% of the time. I think it's more important to get blue chip talent that can play right away than it ever has been before.
Yes, sir.
And the ability of teams and head coaches and GMs to evaluate their own roster and understand when a player can be immediately impactful, or understanding culturally, hey, is this the kind of family that I want to be associated with that is going to stick around if I'm going to put all this time and money and investment into recruiting you? Like, the style points do matter because it matters having backups that you feel good enough about that A, can score you points late in games, but B, like Nico Imaliava had to come out of the game quickly last season when games were out of reach because Tennessee had a walk-on backup quarterback in Gaston Moore.
Mm-hmm. It's a tricky situation because here's the thing about it. Playing those 4 stars, let's keep it at the 4 stars. I think there's still development to be had. It's the reason why you weren't a 5, right? And you also, the other problem to me is this. A lot of these 4 stars should probably be 3 stars. I think a ton of young men coming out, and women, I'll throw that in there too, a ton of athletes is what I'll say, are being overrated. I absolutely think that just because I've seen you at every single camp doesn't mean that you deserve to be a 4-star. There's a lot more development, I feel like, on why guys or why athletes, how they go into college. It's not necessarily, hey, you're ready because you're a 4-star. There may be tiers of 4 stars, Will. You know what I'm saying? Like, people rank luxury cars.
I don't know. I think I'd push back on that a little bit, though,
why
because
so?
5 stars are still being picked in the first round of the NFL draft at a very, very, very high rate. And 4 stars are too.
They are, but here's the thing, though, too. You mentioned the movement. I'm not talking about the perception of them being good athletes eventually. We're talking about the ones that are hopping into the portal simply because they are guys or they are athletes who still need development. And if they feel like they've gotten a year at Tennessee and they feel like they should have played but they didn't, it's easy for them to move on. But the coaches don't see them as starters, per se.
Sure, but like looking at this past year's NFL draft, 26 of the 32 first-round picks were 4 or 5 stars. I think we are in an era where star ratings are as accurate as they ever have been.
They are, but I'm not arguing them being drafted. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying for the coaches whose jobs are on the line that have spent this NIL money to get them on campus, there's either a veteran starter in front of them that they're just not good enough yet to take over their position.
Sure. So there's a development curve to it.
But the recruiting component and NIL component of them believing they should play is why they're moving.
Fair enough.
They have the talent, just not in year one.
So to the families and sometimes to the players themselves, the star ratings are overrated.
Very much so. Like
I see what you mean
potentially become a 4-star starter, but you're not ready for this coach to risk his job on putting you on the field.
Here is where there's a trend that I think may correct the market a little bit. And maybe I'm speaking this into existence or hoping that it corrects the market. So the way this affects NFL draft picks, we've talked a lot about how Cam Ward has had different circumstances to teach him how to win over teammates, how to get accustomed to a new way of life. Yeah. Again, none of this conversation is about Cam Ward because Cam Ward was a 0-star recruit who earned all the more opportunities that he got. Mm-hmm. This is more a conversation about, let's be honest, the Tyler Barons of the world, who transferred, 4 times?
4 times in the offseason.
Transfers from 2018 to 2021 in the top 247 rankings were drafted 11% of the time. Players who did not transfer from the same classes have been drafted 53.6% of the time. Now, there's a little bit of context to that. Like, obviously, if you're transferring, there's just a chance that you didn't live up to your expectations. So there is an element, like that number, of course, is going to be lower because if you transfer, like, there's probably a reason why you weren't starting and weren't playing, so you had to transfer. Mm-hmm. But I do think there is an advantage and there is a positive to seeing out a process both physically and the talent and sticking to a plan that a coach had for you since you were 16, knowing what is best for you, for your development, but also the mental part of it. And just being able to handle adversity and say, no, I made a commitment. I signed on a dotted line. I'm going to see that out for 4 seasons or 3 seasons at one place.
I've heard coaches say that. So my kids are in travel ball and stuff like that. I've heard like agents and scouts say coaches ask that question. How many teams has he been on? To your point, if you're hot, many teams going to want you to be there. But can you be in a system? Can you buy into a system? To your point, to the ones that stayed at their destinations, can they buy into a system? Because that's what it turns into more times than not in the pro rankings. You got to be either in the minors working your ways up to the bigs, or you got to be on a team that buys into the system. Case in point, Ashton Genty. Chip Kelly asked him, change the way you stand in your stance. Can he buy into that, right? Those are the things you're going to be coachable for. Are you coachable? That's what we're asking for at that point. So I do see that. Other part of it is, are you just bag chasing? Because then we got to start asking the questions, Will, do you love football or you just love the money, right? Some guys have to eat. Like I look at James Pierce's situation. He had to come in and earn his, essentially, right? He could have probably went to Georgia or to Clemson, wherever else he wanted to go. But you do have to ask that question. Did you buy into the system here at your place? Yeah. I hope it don't become problematic for Nico.
I think it already is.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Like, how much were you helped and made better by redshirting and sticking it out at Tennessee?
Tons. That redshirted in 04, 05, I won most improved.
You think that prepared you for being an undrafted that made it 11 years?
100%.
Heck yeah.
Because you know what happened next year? 06, I thought I should have won a starting spot. Didn't. So you know what I did going into 07? I bet sure we had? I won most improved again. So I think when you look back at it in hindsight, I think certain pathways do, Will, to your point, I think that prepared me for being undrafted. I didn't want to. I didn't plan on it.
Right.
But having to go through that at the same place, most definitely.
What my concern is about the transfer portal is it is starting to become baked into the DNA of high school athletes. Because there is a trickle-down effect of anything that happens in a major way, in major shifts like this, where, and I don't know how much you talk to people that have these conversations, and I do as well. I know I do a little bit, but you think it's easier for high school athletes now to transfer if they're not starting when they see college athletes do it? Absolutely it is. And how much more likely then is that kid to say, I'm not starting? Well, just like in high school, let me transfer again. There are exceptions to every rule. There are family situations. If you have the chance to make generational wealth with NIL money, and that's your priority, I'm not going to judge you for that whatsoever. But there are side effects to it, and you got a 40% less chance of being drafted if you transfer, according to what these numbers are.
I'm watching it happen right now.
Yeah.
From 2 schools that I know very intimately, kids are moving from one school to the other because of that. Right now.
It is an interesting era we live in. Interesting era we live in. 615-737-1045. The people have been reacting. My friends of this show, they think I'm sick, Ramon. Ooh. They think I'm ill because I've been talking NBA basketball live on the radio. The NBA playoff minute is next.
It's Ramon Foster for Genesis Diamonds, man. It's a great time to shop Genesis Diamonds right now, too, before the tariffs cause price hikes on imported diamond and jewelries. Genesis is not raising their prices on pre-tariff inventory, so all in-stock merchandise is an incredible value right now. Genesis is prepared also for the tariffs, and they made a lot of overseas purchases way in advance to handcrafted rings, exquisite diamonds, colored gemstones, and a ton of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches. If you've gotten any special occasion coming up in the next 6 months or so, you need to get over to Genesis now before the pre-tariff merchandise is gone. Genesis is always going to be the value leader here, regardless of what happens around the world. They were built on that foundation, but it's a way beyond price with them. It's their selection, their quality, their outrageously good customer service, their industry-leading warranties also. And don't forget, Genesis is the exclusive retailer for all top names in bridal jewelry, too. The brands other stores only wish they could get. Genesis Diamonds, where you always get more for your money, but especially right now. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Ramon Will, 104.5 The Zone, brewed by Scooter's Coffee. Wrapping up hour number 2. 615-737-1045, the number. In the association last night, Ramon Foster, the Oklahoma City Thunder take a 2-0 lead over the Minnesota Timberwolves, 118-103. And it's a pretty dominant series so far.
It was,
I'm
man.
told, in our basketball minute.
They are, man. Oklahoma City's been this good for a while. Their crowd, I think, it buzzes the floor, shakes the floor with how they go about it. It seems to me that the broadcast has been told to say that it's fun going to Oklahoma City. I've never been. And I say that with a lot
either,
of
actually.
You haven't? You see what I'm saying? Like, but they are packed like sardines in that place, man. They're loud. Everybody's in a uniform. When I say that, like the colors.
The blue T-shirt.
They stripe. They do everything.
Yeah.
Checkerboard almost in a sense, man. But it is a toxic place to play for opposing teams. They went up 2-0 last night on Minnesota. Here's the thing. SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is just that good. I got to give it to him on that. 38 last night. He was a dude, man, that commands the ball and actually just works at it. And he's working inside, outside. They're able to get to the rim. They're playing a style of ball right now that quite honestly, Minnesota can't keep up with. Mm-hmm. When you got Chet Holmgren running up and down the field and they're throwing lobs at him over other men, that says a lot about their flow. Like the anticipation of scoring is something that they're doing well. And as good as Julius Randle and my guy, I'm a huge fan of Anthony Edwards is.
He's him.
It's not enough. It just isn't, man. They got multiple guys on that team with the Thunder that can just purely score. It doesn't have to be SGA. It could be anybody for that matter. They can go inside, outside. It is as a complete of a team that you've seen. And as much of an attitude that Rudy Gobert has, he's getting bammed on like crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, It is a well put together team the way Oklahoma's playing right now.
A guy from Chattanooga, not really, a guy who played high school basketball in Chattanooga, the MVP of the league and the one who's dominating right now, played his high school basketball at Hamilton Heights in Chattanooga. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I remember watching him play in high school, and there's just certain athletes you watch who can just do things effortlessly that normal humans can't do, and he had that skill level about him from a very young age. He's always been this guy. And
he mentioned that in a little bit of his speech as of late, him winning the MVP. He was speaking about the trials that he had coming into the league, you know, getting moved around to certain squads and how every step made him a better player. And like what he's basically saying, like his pathway has been mental. He knew he had the skill.
Sure.
He had to sell a team that he was going to be that good, and he finally took those steps to being a pro, being a better player. And he acknowledged a lot of that with his wife and stuff like that.
Sure.
So it's kind of cool to hear him speak on that.
Pacers lead the Knicks 1-0. Game 2 tonight.
Ooh.
In Madison Square Garden against the Indiana Pacers. For me, like the story of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is what I want more of in the NBA. Because the development process that connects college basketball to the NBA, to me, is a story that doesn't get told enough, considering the superstars you've had that have overshadowed stories like this for an entire generation. That's no one's fault. No. I just think it's a side effect of how good LeBron James has been over the course of his entire career, how good Steph Curry has been over the course of his entire career. And to me, it's that disconnect of like, I will watch so many of these really good college basketball players and feel like they just kind of disappear.
Yeah.
Where guys get lost in organizations because they're not on that elite level of this generation of players that's now retiring and getting older. And you don't hear enough about the developmental stories of guys going from, 20th best player in the country in high school to one and done at Kentucky to, a middle first round pick or a lottery pick or a top 10 pick. Like guys other than just number one overall picks to me just vanish.
They do.
So often. And this is one guy that's gotten better, and kudos to him on becoming just an absolute weapon.
Man, to that same point, a local connect, I'll bring him up again, Aaron Nesmith. Like, I was talking to my homeboys last night. It's like, you understand he was a lottery pick? It's like, what? He wasn't a lottery. Yeah, he was 14th overall pick. Right. To that same point, Will, like, guys that are not top 5, top 3 in the NBA.
And he was just on some bad Vandy teams, too. Otherwise, he would have been more of a commodity that we were talking about.
And he went 14th and dropped 30 at the Garden the other day. These are the stories you're right. We need more of that. And it happens, but it doesn't get highlighted as much.
For sure.
From the association.
For sure, no doubt. So that is your NBA minute. Look, I am fascinated by the Pacers series for sure. Like, fascinated by it because I just love the theater that is New York sports fans melting down in a significant way.
We're talking about a Friday night playoff game with the historic rival at the Garden.
It's as good as it gets. I think the television numbers will reflect that too. Like, I think despite the fact that you don't have a LeBron playoff run again, or you don't have one of those iconic West Coast teams, doesn't matter. You got one of the iconic brands in American pro sports that's hosting a game 2 tonight.
No doubt. I'm real quick doing a quick search real quick, Will. I got you right here. I'm looking for tickets tonight at the Garden. What's the cheapest ticket you think? Yeah, continue. Let's go on.
Cheapest ticket to the Garden tonight. Give me
general admission.
$700?
Actually, $577.
$577, okay.
It'll be $700 after taxes and all the fees. And
yeah,
stuff.
exactly. Yeah, with fees, we're talking $1,000. To go stand somewhere. Well, best seat. What's the craziest seat price? Let me guess that one. How much more is that one? Not best seat, but just cheapest seat price. Oh yeah. Well, what is the most expensive ticket?
I ain't even gonna do VIP 2. Let's not even do it.
This is what Timothy Chalamet is going to be doing.
Section 10D, not even courtside, dog.
Yeah, when you got just a double-digit section number, you know you're balling.
Row A, Section 10D, $16,380. Section 2, VIP 2, Row AA, $20,770.
615-737-1045 is our number. A reset of the headlines at the second half of the show.
Under the rim.
I better be suiting up and playing if I'm paying that much money. Coming up, Tennessee gets it done against Texas, Vanderbilt against Oklahoma, while many of you were asleep, setting up a big rematch on Saturday. We'll talk about it next.
It is 8:01 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. The 12-team college football playoff is changing after 1 year. The playoff will move to a straight seeding model this fall, rewarding the selection committee's top 4 teams with the top 4 seeds and a first-round bye. The 5 highest-ranked conference champions will still receive an automatic bid, but they will not be guaranteed a top 4 spot or bye. The current 12-team playoff is on its last year of the deal, meaning the playoff could change again next year. In the SEC baseball tournament in Hoover, the Tennessee Vols continue to get the job done yesterday after Gavin Keelan's 2-run double lifted Tennessee over Texas 7-5 in 12 innings. Tennessee will now face in-state rival and number 4 seed Vanderbilt in SEC semifinals tomorrow with the first pitch set for 12 p.m. Central Time. Conference finals game 2s tonight. In the NBA, the New York Knicks look to bounce back against the Indiana Pacers, who stole game 1 Wednesday night in overtime. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. on TNT at Madison Square Garden. In the NHL, the Edmonton Oilers are trying to recover against the Dallas Stars after a third-period collapse in Game 1 Wednesday night, where the Oilers gave up 5 goals in the third period. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. on ESPN in Dallas. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Ramon and Will on 104.5 The Zone is into the second half on this Friday morning. A beautiful day in Music City. They're all beautiful when you wake up in Nashville, Tennessee. 615-737-1045 if you want to make your voice heard. He is Ramon Foster. I'm Will Bowling. Justin Hawkins is our producer. 615-737-1045. Tennessee in 12 innings beats Texas University 7-5 yesterday, and a man who was originally a pitcher for Jim Schlossnagle, the former A&M, now Texas head coach, was the star for Tennessee. Brandon Arvidsson goes 5 1/3 for the Vols yesterday, allowing 1 run with 9 strikeouts. And this guy, Ramon Foster, completely changes the outlook for Tennessee on the mound because yesterday he lived up to his potential. He was absolutely outstanding to get Tennessee to a Saturday semi against Vandy.
Yes, sir. Good, man. If you know baseball, you know more than anything. What your bullpen is capable of is how far your team will go. You can overcome errors, but you can't overcome hits and walks and things of that such, man. So it's great to see him show up. I'll take your thunder by saying what Eric Kane said earlier this week.
Yep.
As it pertains to there's a lot of JUCO guys that Tony Vitello recruited this year that hadn't really answered the call or done or performed the way you expected them to. And it's cool seeing a guy like Brandon Arvidsson do that yesterday. On top of having started the game with Liam Doyle too. Like that 1-2 matchup right there. If you can carry that all throughout the tournament, take it to Omaha if you make it that far, Will.
Sure.
I mean, we're talking about, yes, you beat them in extra innings and stuff like that yesterday, but it's the number 1 team in the country. They won the SEC regular season. That goes a long way, man. And not just that, you know how it is too, Will. Momentum and confidence, man, take you a long way. So Arvidsson having the outing that he did yesterday, you cooking with gas at that point.
Nate Snead, the winner on the mound for Tennessee, pitching the final 2 2/3 of the game, striking out 3, walking 2, did not allow a hit or a run. And SEC Freshman of the Year, Dylan Volantis for Texas, takes home the loss, his first of the season, actually, after giving up 2 runs and 2 innings of work in the extra innings. So Tennessee now gets Vanderbilt, coming off of its first winning streak against SEC opponents, Ramon, since April 13th and 18th, when Tennessee beat Ole Miss 10-8 and Kentucky 8-2. Consistency has been the issue for this team, which continues to have base running mistakes, defensive mistakes, an inconsistent bullpen. Vandy, fresher of the 2 teams, having only played once in this SEC tournament and beating Oklahoma last night. Big test for Tennessee to see if it can continue its momentum against the kind of team that has given them fits this year. Teams that play good fundamental baseball that don't beat themselves and steal bases. Yeah. And that's the thing that Tennessee has really struggled to do, is hold runners and keep runners from stealing against them.
Yeah, you send a prime Tim Corbin team right now at Vanderbilt.
100%. 100%.
They can small ball you. They also have bats now. and the pitching has been what you wanted it to be as of late, too. You don't have to be on your P's and Q's. Here's the other part, too. Now I feel like this time around, Vanderbilt's the rabbit, right? The way they went into Knoxville, beat them, stomped on home plate, celebrated all those types of things. There will be an edge played in this game. I'm going to go look at tickets just to see what it's going to be in a sense. Because if I got an inkling of time, that's a quick down and back, Will, that you want to be a part of. That's going to be spicy. That's going to be a spicy matchup, man, as it pertains to Tennessee Vanderbilt at this matchup, especially with both teams. Well, Tennessee's 1-2 and Vanderbilt had to bye. But, dog, this is what sports is made of.
Let's go take a look at a ticket website. It's not that bad. You'll be fine.
It still be fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
$100.
Oh, that might be do it.
$100. Yep. Right at it. Fees included. $100.
Let me check the family schedule, man. That ain't a bad trip right there, Will.
Not bad at all.
No.
Not bad at all. So Tennessee and Vanderbilt on Saturday, a noon start for the Vols against the Commodores. And it's going to be interesting. Kendall Rogers did say yesterday, D1 Baseball does a great job covering the entire sport. Yeah. Talking about Tennessee's opportunity now with a win over Texas to host a regional in the NCAA tournament. Looking good for Tennessee now after that win yesterday. And this was kind of what it was going to take.
Yeah.
He says, host watch. Things are looking pretty solid for Vol baseball. 2-0 at the SEC tournament, up to 9 in the RPI with 18 SEC wins, plus head-to-head series wins over Ole Miss on the road and Alabama on the road. Vols moving on up at the right time.
It's all about momentum at the right time, Will.
Crazy thing is, we can't trash talk too much to Texas yet, because if Tennessee is the 16 seed overall and Texas is number 1, you'd be playing most likely a super regional in Austin against the number 1 overall seeded Longhorns. There's also an opportunity if Vandy or LSU was seeded number 2 overall to play at Vandy or at LSU in a super regional round if Tennessee was a 15 overall national seed.
Here's the thing. Tennessee, they caused this, though, right, as far as the way they played during the regular season. So, like, whatever they have to go through, like, they need to have their minds right as far as how to compete. And I put a lot of that on Tony Vitello going into this, too. Like, having guys been steady, understanding the talent that you have, too. Like, I don't want to make it seem like, the Vols can't compete against those guys, for sure. Or, you look at yourself as a has-been, like, team.
Mm-hmm. No,
you have the goods.
They've got so much talent.
100%.
So much talent.
And for a while, I felt like they played better on the road than they did up in Knoxville.
Right. Honestly.
Yeah.
And honestly, for a while, too, for this team, like, looking at the raw numbers doesn't tell the whole story.
Yeah.
Because situationally, they've not been good. When they've got to get an out, they can't get it. When they've got to move runners around, they can't get it. When they need to bring somebody in on second or third, they can't do it. So that's been the bigger issue for them. It's the overall ability level has been what it is. It's been decent. It's the ability to perform when, things are at their highest pressure points that they just haven't been able to do.
And it almost got there yesterday. Brandon Arvidsson was cooking. You know where I'm going.
Yep.
And then the throwback to first.
Throws it away over the first baseman's head.
And that was the tying run, if I'm not mistaken, also.
It was, yeah.
It's those moments, man, to where going up against a Tim Corbin Vanderbilt team, you won't be allowed to do those types of things and get away with it.
That's true.
Now, true enough, they got away with it last night against Texas, but it can't keep happening. It happens often where you're giving up extra bases on boneheaded decisions. And it seemed to me at that moment, Brandon Arvidsson had just a lack in just concentration more than anything. His concentration, I thought, lacked, because if you look back at it, he just simply, I'll just toss it, and it sailed on him.
It's hard for pitchers sometimes to throw at like half speed.
Yeah.
It's always a challenging part of it. Coming up next, we are going to, Ramon, talk some Alabama football this morning. On Three's Charlie Potter's about to join us here in just a minute. What are you most interested to learn about Alabama spring practice? Feels like this is one of the more intriguing teams in the entire conference moving forward into this season.
It'll be the quarterback with them. I think it starts and ends with who's going to end up in the quarterback. I think we all think it's going to be Ty Simpson. But they're making it seem like it's going to be a real competition going into training camp. And the thing is, the backup, I forget his name off top, the young talent.
Keelan Russell.
Keelan Russell has a lot of talent. Do you want to waste one year with him and just let Ty roll because he's got the experience, although Ty hadn't started?
And you got Austin Mack.
You know, like
there as well, the transfer from Washington.
And not just that, but also I feel like their defense took a little bit of a hit last year too. What are they doing to make that what Nick Saban has had it as one of the best in the country? So much so, I mean, he's got safeties getting drafted in the first round.
Right.
Like that's the expectation for that team down there, despite who's the coach in Alabama and Tuscaloosa. So, and then also, I feel like most teams got to deal with this in a sense. What are you doing to combat Texas? Like Alabama, Texas, sure. I mean, location-wise, they're the same athletes. They're in Louisiana. They're in Alabama. They're in Texas.
They're in Texas, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what are they doing as far as trying to keep that at a bay and just recruiting matters? And their coach has done a real good job of that too, DeBoer.
On paper, it is as good of a wide receiver room as Alabama has had in a really long time.
Yeah, man.
Since the prime Nick Saban days when you had – guys like Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith just walking in the door every year. That kind of ended there towards the end for Nick Saban. It was a big reason why they weren't able to get back to national championships at the very end of his tenure. But the local product, Isaiah Horton from Oakland, who transfers from Miami into this program, one of Cam Ward's favorite targets last year in Miami, joining Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard. Ryan Williams, the 18-year-old. This upcoming season. Really, really interested to see what the ceiling of that offense looks like now with Ryan Grubb in there as offensive coordinator as well. The guy they wanted to originally hire to be in there managing this offense for Kalen DeBoer. And just the culture of that program, because Alabama made some mistakes last year that non-Nick Saban teams make and Nick Saban teams don't make. And that program, odd. Like some of the guy kicking the football at the end of the Vanderbilt game, in the end of that loss as they're trying to take a knee. Like some certain outbursts and mistakes and just mental errors that we're not accustomed to seeing from players in Alabama uniforms. I'm curious how much Kalen DeBoer has made that culture his culture this offseason versus just trying to keep a roster together and compromise on some of his values. That way guys just don't enter the transfer portal in droves.
100%. Because, again, you go from one coach that's hard on guys to a coach that was very fun and loving in DeBoer, right? And I think there was articles earlier this offseason that said he was changing that. So the conversation had come up at least, at a minimum that that's something he has to reincorporate. Like, he was getting to know everybody last year. This year, you get to know him and who he is, I feel like.
Well, and I think new head coaches have a choice to make.
Yeah.
Do I run things my way and have a mass exodus of talent year one? Or do I compromise a little bit on who I am as a coach and the culture that I want to represent in order to keep a roster together? And I think that's something that Kalen DeBoer probably did a little bit too much of last year, just to not tick guys off enough and keep them in Alabama uniforms and not other uniforms.
I mean, then he was an outsider too, essentially.
100%.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about all that coming up as our SEC Spring Football Series continues. We'll be joined by On3 and Bama Online's Charlie Potter talking some Alabama football coming up next. Ramon Will on 104.5 The Zone is brewed by Scooters Coffee. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Alongside 11-year NFL veteran Ramon Foster, I'm Will Bowling. Pleased to be joined this morning by senior team writer for Bama Online and On3, covering Alabama football and basketball, Charlie Potter, kind enough to give us a few minutes as we continue our SEC football spring series. What's going on, Charlie? How are you, man?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We are going through a series where we're having a writer covering every SEC team on the show this spring. And I've kind of started off, Charlie, with the same question. What is the vibe and the mood just around Alabama football this spring as Kalen DeBoer has added a great transfer class to go with a great high school class? Just how high are the expectations and the hype around this group?
I think they're pretty high right now. I think the biggest thing coming out of spring practice is that Alabama didn't have any player, at least a scholarship player, enter the transfer portal, and that's kind of unheard of in this day and age of college football. You always kind of expect, a handful of guys to look elsewhere after they kind of learn where they are in the pecking order and on the depth chart after spring ball wraps up. But Alabama had no players enter. They added a couple of tight ends, which that was a position that was super thin in the spring, especially given some of the injuries that they sustained. But it's kind of been status quo, and I think a lot of the guys have bought into Kalen DeBoer going into year two, and obviously we got to see what happens with the quarterback position, and I think there's some question marks on the offensive line and things like that. But a lot of these groups have improved. They've added to them, whether it be via the portal or the high school ranks, like you said. And yeah, I think the vibes are pretty high at Alabama right now. And it's crazy because it's a transition year. Alabama will win 9 games, and a lot of people are just super disappointed. That kind of tells you about where expectations have been for the last 15 plus years. But I think that they're pretty high this year, and I think a lot of people are really eager to see what this team looks like in year 2 under Kalen DeBoer.
Well, Charlie, looking at Ty Simpson specifically, his recruitment was so well documented here in the state of Tennessee. And at the time, we thought he was one of the most important recruits in recent memory for Tennessee to keep in state. Obviously, they don't do that. Now he's at Alabama. What is this staff like about him as kind of the holdover from Nick Saban and a guy that is kind of a dying art, right, in college football, and someone that's waited his turn and now gets this opportunity to most likely start?
Yeah, it is. It's rare to see. Again, they're kind of breaking the norm when it comes to the transfer portal. And I'll be honest, I think it was after the Rose Bowl when they lost to Michigan, or actually it was before the game. I talked to Ty in California, and the way he was talking, you kind of thought, well, maybe he's going to look elsewhere. But he stuck it out. He stayed loyal to Alabama. And again, that's rare these days. But I think with him, he's been the most consistent of the quarterbacks. And there's some younger guys on the roster. Austin Mack's only played in 1 game in his career. Obviously, Keelan Russell's going through his first collegiate practices, being an incoming freshman. But Ty Simpson's been in the program. He's been in the system now for a year. He's going to be working, I think, with his 4th offensive coordinator, if not more. Just thinking off the top of my head with Ryan Grubb coming in. But, he's stuck it out. And I think that's not the reason that he's kind of the front runner of this quarterback battle after spring practice. I think it has something to do with it. But when you look at the 3 guys that they have, he's been the most consistent of the 3. Obviously, they want to be able to move the ball down the field, to take care of the ball, make good decisions. I think Ty Simpson's done that on the most consistent basis. And it's a big summer coming up, obviously, with 7-on-7s and things like that. And then they're going to crank up preseason camp at the end of July. But right now, he's kind of leader in the clubhouse, and that's to be expected. He's the older guy in the room, but I think he's earned a lot of respect in the building, and I think that he's continued to work. He hasn't rested on his laurels, and I think he sees this prime opportunity in front of him this fall.
Charlie Potter of On3 Sports and writer for Alabama football. Charlie, man, thank you for joining us, man. On the side of Ty Simpson, too, it's the reports we're getting is it still is a competition that who takes over the starting quarterback. What does the young phenom and Keelan Russell present as a challenge to Ty Simpson if he doesn't win it in training camp?
Yeah, I think when you talk to people that were at some of these scrimmages that were closed to the public, you hear, again, Ty Simpson was most consistent, but I think with Keelan, he's a guy that made probably the most wow plays. Like when you hear the oohs and ahs from the crowd, it was probably a throw or a play made by Keelan Russell because he's a talented player. It's not fair to really compare, but Alabama's had some stellar quarterbacks come through this program, and you think of the likes of Tua Tagovailoa and Bryce Young, guys coming in who were just highly touted as a high school recruit. He kind of fits that same mold. So I think he could benefit from, a year in the program, a year in the strength program, a year just with the nutritionist in Alabama. But the potential and the talent is there. And so, he's still learning. I think, early on he probably made some freshman mistakes. The open practice that we got to watch, I think his first throw was an interception, but he calmed down and then, again, made some wild plays. So he's a talented player. I think he could benefit for some reps, obviously, this fall. But he's got some work to do, I think, to catch up to Ty Simpson. But he's going to have, again, every opportunity, him and Austin Mack both, to push for this job because it isn't over. The competition isn't over. But, again, I think he has a little bit of ways to go. But I think you can clearly see, the future is bright as position if he keeps progressing and stays on the right track.
To compete in the SEC, you got to have the bigs on both sides of the ball. Offensively for you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you guys only lost Tyler Booker, first-round draft pick to the Dallas Cowboys this year. But you also got back the previous year, Caden Proctor, who's probably going to end up being a first-round tackle also coming out this year. How good is that offensive line going to be? And as far as the stability of a first-time starter, either Ty Simpson or one of the young guys behind him?
I think the group took some nice steps last year, but there's still room for improvement because you look at 2023, I think they gave up like 49 sacks. They dropped that down to 25. But Elijah Pritchett was the starting right tackle in 12 games. He transferred to Nebraska, but they feel really good about Wilkin Formby, who kind of split time with Pritchett last year. After a rocky start to the season. But tackle is super thin outside of Proctor, who was limited in the spring. They only have 3 true tackles on the roster. So they've had to move some interior guys around and get them some reps on the outside. But from an interior standpoint, you bring back Parker Brailsford at center, you bring back Jaden Roberts at right guard, and you hope he's healthy this year because he is kind of in and out of the lineup. You add some transfer portal pieces both years under Kalen DeBoer with Gino Vandemark coming in from Michigan State and then Cam Dewberry coming over from Texas A&M this offseason to kind of compete for that vacant spot at left guard. If you can shore that up, and that's tough to do, like you said, Tyler Booker's a phenomenal player, but he's a huge leader for this team and has been, so it's big shoes to fill. But if you can shore up that left guard position and then get better play out of your right tackle, I think the group can take a step in the right direction because you've got guys that have started a lot of games coming back with Proctor and Brailsford and Roberts. And so I think, quarterback is obviously something everybody's going to be paying attention to, but this offensive line, if it can continue to take the steps in the right direction, then this offense is going to be really special. But guys got to be healthy. They got to stay healthy because if you sustain a couple injuries up front, it could go south in a hurry maybe in Tuscaloosa.
Charlie Potter, senior team writer for Bama Online of the On3 Sports Network, talking some Alabama football with us this morning. So, Charlie, we're certainly familiar with Isaiah Horton, the Miami transfer. He went to high school right down the road here in Murfreesboro for local power Oakland. He joins a wide receiver room that was already going to be good, that now has a chance to be special. How high are the expectations for that group, considering Ty Simpson or whoever's at quarterback, it has some elite weapons to throw to? How good can they be at wide receiver this year?
Yeah, quarterback play is going to be important for those guys, but it's kind of crazy because they lost 6 players to the transfer portal. I think in the winter transfer portal at the position. And you're looking at the group, I think they have 10 scholarship players. And I think the coaching staff, everybody in the building feels like it's a complete 180 from last year. They are super high on these wide receivers, and it helps when you have Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard coming back. But you're going to have guys like Jalen Hale and Cole Adams coming back from injury. You feel like you could have some guys take the next step with Rico Scott and Jalen Mbakwe going into their second years in the program. And then what you add in Isaiah Horton and then a couple of true freshmen like Latia Brooks and Derek Meadows, Alabama feels like he could be 9 deep at the wide receiver position. Obviously, they're not going to play all of those guys, but when you look at the top with Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, and you add in Isaiah Horton, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a better trio than that and than what's going to be in Tuscaloosa this fall. So I think expectations are super high for the group. Again, it's kind of a 180 from last year. And I think when you hear from Kalen DeBoer and this coaching staff, they said it repeatedly this offseason that this is the group that's probably taken the most strides from a year ago. So I think that if they get these guys to play to their potential, it's going to help out the quarterback, obviously. And if the quarterback play can complement those receivers, this passing attack can be really potent and maybe what people expected under Kalen DeBoer now with Ryan Grubb coming in as offensive coordinator.
Charlie, it's really interesting when a new coach comes in now in the portal era. It feels like coaches have to maybe compromise a little bit on who they are in order to just keep a roster together. And I know that's been some of the conversation around Kalen DeBoer last season, just culturally, and what you have to do just to keep a lot of guys from leaving. What, if any, changes have you seen in him and just the way he's going about his business this season? And is there that idea out there that he can be a little bit more himself and run things a little bit more the way he wants to now entering this next season?
Yeah, I think he probably felt like he needed to be careful coming in just because you have that 30-day window, which is kind of crazy that those portal windows are open for so long after a coaching search. But you kind of hear from players, and they don't really talk about things being different. Like, he hasn't changed who he is, but Kalen DeBoer is maybe a little more locked in and serious. And I know people are going to be like, well, why wasn't that the case last year? I'm not saying it wasn't, but I think that now he feels like he has his group. This team is what they want it to be. You've had now, 4 portal cycles, because it opened whenever he got hired. It opened in the spring last year. It opened in the winter. And it opened in the spring again. Guys that don't want to be in Tuscaloosa aren't in Tuscaloosa anymore. And he has his dudes. He's brought in guys from the transfer ranks and the high school ranks. He has his first full recruiting cycle. And I feel like they're ready to go. And look, it's a 9-4 season last year. It's viewed as disappointing in the building, and that rings of what we've heard from Nick Saban in this program the last 15+ years. So I think I'm not saying Alabama is necessarily going to be pushing for a national championship this season, but if they continue to kind of go in this trajectory that they've been on, if they can get guys healthy and get guys to continue to progress, they're going to be pushing for a playoff spot, and they're going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Charlie, when you look at the defensive side of the ball with Kalen DeBoer being an offensive-minded guy, man, what is the expectation for Deontay Lawson or LT Overton coming into this season as it pertains to the Tide? Because more than anything, man, you guys are known for just putting droves of guys in the draft as far as defense goes. What's the expectation for that side of the ball?
I think expectations are super high because outside of probably the Vanderbilt game, I think the defense played really well last year. And you've got a lot of guys coming back. I think when you look at – that's another thing about this team is I think they had 11 draft-eligible guys choose to return, because obviously the top 2 guys in the draft were underclassmen with Jahad Campbell and then Jalen Milroe and Tyler Booker. But they had some guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that could have left, decide to come back, whether that be, like you said, Deontay Lawson at linebacker, LT Overton as an edge rusher. You get Damani Jackson, Keon Sapp, some guys back in the secondary, Tim Keenan up front. They've got dudes at every level of this defense. And if a guy like Lawson can come back healthy because he suffered an ACL injury and the loss to Oklahoma, if they can get some guys from a depth standpoint at that interior defensive line spot to step up, this can be a really good group, because the secondary is phenomenal. They added quality depth at the cornerback position, but brought back both starters in Damani Jackson and Xavier Brown. The big thing for Alabama defensively, because they were really good in a lot of areas last year, is they want to get more pressure on the quarterback, and getting LT Overton back and getting some guys reps last year, like Quay Russaw. I think that they can do that. That's going to be the focal point, is to get pressure on the quarterback. They were really advantageous when the ball was in the air in terms of turning teams over. So continue to do what they did last year, add some pass rush, and have some guys just kind of take that next step. This defense can be one of the best in the country this fall.
Charlie Potter's on with us this morning from On 3 talking Alabama football. Charlie, I'd be remiss, man, if I didn't ask this question. Because we all know him. How big of an item is Ryan Williams, and what's being done to you got to somewhat box that in. He's a young fella, and I don't mean it because they mentioned that 17-year-old 30 times during the broadcast, but legitimately, what's being done to keep him in a box, man, to just get him to that third year into the NFL draft, because he's a star. He's a stud. He's that good. What's been done around that?
Well, he did turn 18, so that's one storyline you can struggle with that.
That's what I wanted right there, John. That's what I was looking for.
The calendar helps.
That's right.
More so than anything.
Yeah.
But no, I think with Ryan, he's a special player, and I actually just wrote a story yesterday. He's been down in Tampa. He and Isaiah Horton both working at House of Athlete, and that just happens to be where a certain former Heisman Trophy winner spends his offseason, in Devontae Smith. And fresh off the Super Bowl, they followed him around all week. Devontae's the guy that wakes up and works out at 5 a.m. and then waits till the heat of the day to do his running like a maniac. And those guys just were able to see how a pro works. And I think for a guy like Ryan Williams, and I'm not saying that this was the case for him by any stretch of the imagination, but for him to continue to mature, I think, is important, just because he's a young kid. And then the light was extremely bright on him as a true freshman. A lot of eyes are going to be on him as a sophomore. So for him to kind of take this approach to get in extra work this offseason, be around a guy like Smitty, who is just he does everything with a purpose, I think is really big for him. So, there's been no signs of, Ryan Williams. And I know he does a lot of things. He's a busy guy, but he's not resting on his laurels by any stretch of the imagination. And I think it would be. I think a lot of people are expecting a big year for him in year two, and with a new quarterback, I think he finished with 865 yards, 8 touchdowns last year. I can see him getting to 1,000 in year two, and being a big piece of this offense for another year.
He is Charlie Potter, doing a great job covering Alabama, and great stuff this morning. Senior team writer for Bama Online and On 3. You follow him on Twitter at Charlie_Potter. Excellent stuff, Charlie. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
Charlie. No
Absolutely. Talking some Alabama football here this morning. And again, we promised you a writer covering every SEC team, and we're about a quarter of the way there.
All we need now is RT Willie. Hey, look, there's going to be a bunch of people.
I love how quickly you switch back from radio professional to being an op.
Oh, Charlie was cool. I hope we build a relationship with him.
Yeah.
We got a couple other guys we'll reach out to also. But RT Willie next.
That is I love how you still won't say the words. That is our plan for the football season. Have more of these SEC writers on throughout the season and cover the whole conference. It's good stuff.
That was good. We were very, very professional when dealing with
Well, yeah, of course. What are you?
I think a lot of people are not going to do.
Just because your brother-in-law is in the chat saying, oh, y'all are finally talking real football. You're taking the bait. Rise above.
I'll be
radio
better.
professional. Radio entertainer. Broadcast entertainer Ramon Foster presiding. Coming up, there is an end of an era today in national sports television. A tip of the cap to a show that comes to an end today. Coming up next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. Are you headed to the beach or pool this summer? Well, of course. I know I'll be doing that next week. Maybe you're just spending more time outside. Well, I want to tell you about my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center, who will make sure that as you spend more time in crowded environments outside, maybe in the water, you got the best technology to hear as well as you possibly can. Maybe this is for a family member, not just talking about you. Well, let me tell you why Brentwood Hearing Center is the best around. They offer the latest hearing device technology, which includes a water-resistant hearing aid that will also help you hear in those situations where there's background noise. Maybe it's an outdoor wedding. It's just a party you're going to outside. You're in the water. You want to make sure that you can still engage in conversation in a significant way. 615-377-0420. That's the number you got to remember to call, Brentwood Hearing Center. Or you can visit them online. Their website is great at brentwoodhearingcenter.com. Learn more about how they can tailor a hearing solution to meet your individual hearing care needs. 615-377-0420, or they're online at brentwoodhearingcenter.com. That's Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing, better life. Ramon Will, 104.5 The Zone continues, wrapping up hour number 3. And today, Ramon Foster, an era comes to an end.
What are we talking about, Will?
Of all of the after-school ESPN shows, Around the Horn might have been the best one.
Yeah.
Today, it's last ever show.
Is it really?
Tony Reale and Around the Horn comes to an end today. Very unfortunate for me. Personally, I think that lineup on ESPN2 for a while of Sports Nation, back before it kind of got ruined, but it was just Sports Nation, and you could go on ESPN.com and vote in all the polls, and it was just Michelle Beadle and Colin Cowherd going through the poll answers on Sports Nation. That would come on, I believe, at 3, and then PTI and Around the Horn would be back-to-back, and you'd have Jay Mariotti, Woody Page, J.A. Adondi, and Steve Kalishaw all just yelling about things. And Around the Horn, where the points never mattered, I loved it. Yeah. I thought it was terrific.
I did, too. The best part of it is when they got their platform in the end to say their piece, and it could be sports-related, it could be personal. It could be something that was, pop culture. It was really cool watching it, man. I got Woody Page. VFL. I love the signs in the background. The show had personality. The show gave, in my opinion, journalists, writers, reporters, a true way of sparring against one another. And I absolutely enjoyed it, especially when the topics were really good. And the way Tony Reale would dock points, give points. And to your point, Will, I'm throwing a lot of points out there, but to the point you made a second ago, he would give and take as he felt. As he felt. And I like that part of it, too. It's that was good, but not good enough. Or if you started talking, he'd mute you. Those things, I think, are necessary. Probably more so than we feel like in sports journalism, man. It's a good, pure show. I hate to see this one go.
So Tony Reale, I think, doesn't get enough credit for how good he is and for how, I think, good of a person that guy is. And there was a piece at awfulannouncing.com about this, about how Tony Reale's whole job and platform on that show was to give voice to diverse and unique voices in sports media around the country and give people a platform to share their stories and share their work and create a platform for themselves. That you and I are talking about J.A. Adondi and Woody Page in Nashville, who are not Nashville writers. There's an interview about this I liked at awfulannouncing.com a little while back, and Mike Ryan, who talks about this, and talked about it on the Dan Le Batard show, Oral History, he's doing for Meadowlark Media, saying that Tony Reale has helped the just mental health and just the overall well-being of so many people in media, because he's the kind of guy that just checks up on you and the kind of guy that gives people a voice. And Mike Ryan said, I have immense respect for him. He operates in this highly creative environment. You would never know what was going on with his life until he took the opportunity to share some of it. He says, I know how powerful it was to see someone that had gone through difficult things, similar things to other people, give voice to it. How does he have it all together? So he went on a quest to kind of find out about it, and didn't go into extreme detail, but talked about having, panic attacks, bouts of anger. Mike Ryan, Dan Le Batard show host and producer. And how Tony Reale was a guy that was just there for him and would talk to him and check up on him, and kind of feels like one of the good people in sports media that has his run ending at ESPN.
Man, I'm sure he'll get picked up by somebody. I hope anyway, because like you said, you see the smile, you see the upbeat attitude that he has, and you hope all of that is true, and there's not a darkness behind it, and it doesn't seem to be the way, but he, to me, seems to be one of those glue guys, like those company guys that you got to have in the building. Like, he is how franchises are built, is the way I look at that one. And not just that, I don't want to say he birthed a lot of these people, but, I was introduced to Bomani Jones because of this show. No, we're talking about Woody Page right now. We're talking about Diana Rossini that's been on this show before. These types of folks that a platform was given to. And not just that, but you understand, these are the way he did the show and how they debate and go at one another is how I expected journalism to be. And, And it's
non-ESPN writers, too. It's just columnists at large outlets around the country.
East Coast,
That's
West
what I
Coast.
loved about it.
Yes, 100%, man. And the freedom to speak and say what you want to. I love the fact that they never took away from somebody's stance, albeit whether it be political, right or left, whether it be personal, whether it be sports, whether it just be, hey, I appreciate you, Woody Page. Those are the types of things that I love when he gave him the sports minute at the end. Super dope, man.
So at awfulannouncing.com, there's a really good column this morning by Sam Newman, who writes this. Actually came out last night. But Tony Reali deserves better from ESPN.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when shows get canceled or phased out, ESPN will keep around some of their really good people and put them in different roles. Like he writes about this, says like Booger McFarland was demoted from Monday Night Football, but has had an avenue to still have a platform on ESPN. Like Jessica Mendoza was taken off of Sunday Night Baseball, but Jessica Mendoza is still a part of what ESPN's baseball coverage is. Like, for whatever reason, his contract goes up through the summer. ESPN's not keeping him around, it sounds like. They're going to let him walk. I think that's a big mistake by ESPN. And there's a lot of nostalgia that we have because I think people really flock to what they grow up watching in sports media and grow up listening to. And there's a friendship that you feel like you develop with people over the air over a long period of time. And I think we probably overemphasize some of that nostalgia sometimes. I don't think we're overemphasizing it with Tony Reali, who I think is legitimately a good, talented person. And I think these are some of the business decisions that ESPN makes that really confuse me sometimes, of people like that who I think do the job, have earned an opportunity, and now, is on the outside looking in. Apparently he's talked with NBC about a role for Olympic stuff, which would be a great fit.
I want more from him.
That's the reporting out there.
He to me could do Jeopardy. Like, I feel like he's that
honestly.
talented. You know
this was kind of sports Jeopardy in a way around the horn was.
Yeah, it was, man. That sucks. That is. I know all things must come to an end.
Yeah, right.
But there should be a continuation of something for him. Like, don't sit him at a desk. Like, let him be up, moving around, being in it, and having those conversations. So there is a pathway for him. I hope some network or outlet does pick him up. I'm looking at the names of the panelists and just guests that have been on. I mean, this is a Hall of Fame list that he's helped cultivate. And I know the four letters help do it too, but I was just putting in our YouTube chat, like, watching Bomani Jones verbally assassinate people. I mean,
honestly,
made me a fan of him to this day, and the same thing for Tony Reali too. Like, I'm a fan of him.
615-737-1045. We will reset some headlines for you when we come back. Some news in college football and the future of the playoff. And some NFL news. We'll go rapid fire headlines to begin hour 4 after this.
It's Ramon for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Good people, nobody wants to deal with a plumbing, HVAC, or electrical emergency at all. Most of the time, you don't even know what it will cost or if it'll get fixed right, or if somebody's just trying to sell you something you don't need. When you call Hiller, the experts are going to solve your problems quickly. I myself am a customer of Hiller, and they do just exactly what they're going to do. Cool part is the price you're told is the price you'll always pay. There are no hidden fees or surprises when you get your bill. They've been in business for over 35 years and are family owned and operating. And I'm telling you this, to own a business here in this city, you've got to be good at your job. 35 years is a very long time, so you know they do good work. So much so that they always send their texts. They're professional, experienced, and trustworthy. And they always do background checks and also drug screen too. When they're on their way, so you're not waiting all day long, you'll receive a text with the photo of the tech and a link to track them in real time. Their motto is happy you'll be, the service is free, and they absolutely mean that. Trust me on that one. So to learn more about Hiller, simply book with them. Visit happyhiller.com.
It is 9:01 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. The 12-team college football playoff is changing after 1 year. The playoff will move to a straight seeding model this fall, rewarding the selection committee's top 4 teams with the top 4 seeds and a first-round bye. Still, though, the 5 highest-ranked conference champions will receive an automatic bid, but they will not be guaranteed a top 4 spot or a bye. The current 12-team playoff is on the last year of its deal, meaning that the playoff could change again next year. In the SEC baseball tournament in Hoover, Alabama, the Tennessee Vols continued to get the job done yesterday, beating Texas 7-5 in 12 innings. Pitcher Brendan Arvidsson, in large part, helped get the win, pitching 5 1/3 innings with 9 strikeouts, allowing just 1 run. Tennessee will now face in-state rival and SEC number 4 seed Vanderbilt in the SEC semifinals tomorrow, with first pitch set at 12 p.m. Central Time. Conference finals game 2's tonight in the NBA. The New York Knicks look to bounce back against the Indiana Pacers, who stole game 1 Wednesday night. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. on TNT at Madison Square Garden in New York. In the NHL, the Edmonton Oilers are trying to recover against the Dallas Stars after a third-period collapse in which they allowed 5 goals in game 1 Wednesday. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. on ESPN in Dallas. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Ramon and Will, 104.5 The Zone, into the 4th and final hour, the final hour of the week. This morning, streaming live at 104.5 The Zone TV and the 104.5 The Zone app. 615-737-1045 is the number. He is Ramon Foster. I'm Will Bowling. Justin Hawkins is our producer. And coming up in 20 minutes, we are allegedly going to be joined by Ron Slay.
Yeah, my boy's going to the doctor this morning, man.
Maybe he'll put his doctor on the phone again, like he did a couple weeks ago.
Maybe so. Maybe so, Will. I don't think he can do it this one because I ain't going to steal his thunder, but I do know he's getting an MRI. So that can get quite spicy, man. I hated getting an MRI.
Yeah.
It was a necessary evil because you needed to know what was going on with you. But legitimately, hearing that, you had one before?
No, never have.
Oh, my. The anxiety of making sure you don't have any metals on you. I'm a bigger dude, so going into the little tube, man, sucks. It just does. I had one where I had a chest contusion. And having to lay in there, I had a rib one. The rib one was the worst because I had to put my arm up over my head.
Oh.
And my arm went to sleep 3 times. I was moving and I had to reset and everything.
That's
man.
awful.
What was supposed to be a 30-minute MRI turned into an hour and 15.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just sitting there with your arm up?
Yeah, sitting there with your arm up.
Oh, that's terrible.
And what's crazy is they give you the headphones to go over your head. But they can't have any metal in it, so I think sound has been fed in by a tube because it got to be all plastic. So it's not loud enough to block out the errant sounds that the MRI machine is making. And if you can't sleep, I'm not a napper like that.
Oh,
so
can't relate.
Laying in there and just staring up at that white wall, my eyes start to spin a little bit. I hate the MRI machine.
That's not fun.
Yeah.
Dang.
I hate the MRI machine.
I've never broken a bone, so this is a foreign concept to me.
Only time I broke a bone was I got it shattered.
Well, that's flex.
No, my thumb got
one way to
shattered,
break it.
In the pregame.
Yeah, I remember hearing that story.
Yeah, pregame against Vanderbilt. Xavier Mitchell and I, we would just do a thud-up pop. And
What
I used
year
to
was
have this was 07. We were out here thugging.
Yeah, so you dominated that game.
Yeah, we weren't going. Yeah, we did.
With a shattered thumb, you still dominated Vanderbilt.
Went in, dude, had the x-ray. They set it back, put a glove on, put a soft cast on, and went out and played it. I don't know how.
That's crazy.
Looking back at it, that was probably one of the dumbest things ever. I don't know who we had behind me.
And he still didn't give up a sack.
Still didn't give up a sack.
Because y'all gave up, I think, 1 sack the entire season.
And I think we rallied back to win the game. Vandy jumped out hot on us in that game.
07?
In 07, yeah, they jumped out. We came back and won that one. That was a good old
So
time.
was it still hurt when you played in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, it was hurt then. I didn't get surgery until the Outback Bowl.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I played through.
Wow.
Yeah, and after the Vanderbilt game too, we went out, party, clubbed, having a good time. There's a picture somewhere floating. Like I ended up having, I got rid of one Facebook account, got another one. But there was a picture of Inky and me and Inky in the club, and you see me, Ink. I think Mayo was there and Rob, and you see me,
Gerard Mayo, the former coach of the Patriots, and Robert Ayers, first-round pick edge rusher for the Denver Broncos. For those unfamiliar,
we got caught on camera by somebody. Like I'm in there with my hand up like this on my chest because I didn't want it to fall down because it throbbed because of all the blood. And, dog, I was just out of my mind. Like, why am I here? But you couldn't miss the end of the year party, Will.
Sure.
You could not miss it.
Sure.
Absolutely. What a time. I still don't know why they was just like, you going to play. I shouldn't have played that game now that I think about it.
You shattered your thumb.
I shouldn't, the top
it's
part of my thumb. Yeah, you see it
wonky.
now. Yeah, it's a little wonky. It's got a plate and 4 pins in it. I had the surgery right before the bowl game. And we went
before the bowl game.
Yeah, before the bowl game.
You played in that game too, right?
I got a picture of my crib of me sitting there at practice with like this big old thumb brace on.
My God.
Played in that game too. Will, listen to me. I was trying to make it.
That's crazy.
By any means necessary, dude.
So that was the first of the 2 Outback Bowls, and you guys lost to Penn State.
Yeah,
I was there.
But my mindset was I'm more than sure I was draft eligible.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime I can be on that field, I was going to. Now I came back for my senior year, but I was. My mindset was.
Well, that was the second Outback Bowl.
Second Outback Bowl. Yeah, second Outback Bowl.
Yeah, because 06 you guys went, and you lost to Penn State.
Lost to Penn State.
07 you beat Wisconsin.
Beat Wisconsin, yes.
So the 08 Outback Bowl.
We wanted that, we wanted that Penn State game. Yeah. That one meant a lot. Joe Paterno, was still coaching at that time, and it was too late. I mean, think about the coaches. Coach Fulmer, Joe Paterno in the Outback Bowl. What a time.
I know. Definitely. No, it was fun. That was one of my favorite trips growing up because, like, our family vacations, we would just, like, you guys were so good that our family vacation would just be wherever the bowl game was.
Yeah.
So we would do, like, a New Year's just kind of family trip. And I remember going to Busch Gardens and being obsessed with Busch Gardens in Tampa, going to the Outback Bowl because we went both years. We just went as a family in 08 and in 07 in January for New Year's. And that was always a tricky one, though, because on New Year's Eve, like, that game would start at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
At least it has for a while. So it literally would start at 10 a.m. Central and be like the first game of the new year's always been the Outback Bowl, which is now like the, I forget what the name of it is now. It's something.
Gasparilla? It ain't that one, is it?
No. What's it called?
Don't you hate when that happens?
It is the ReliaQuest Bowl.
Respectfully to the ReliaQuest account that sold that, but like,
that's utter woke nonsense is what that is.
Now, since we brought up Outback, something came up on my radar the other day. Like, apparently they are in the wing market right now. Chicken wings?
Sure.
And there's not one around me that's close enough. But I'm just like, when do we start like doing food chains like wing reviews? Like, it's weird how you social media people work.
It sounds like a job for Ron Slay to go up there and try it and let the people know.
Blew my mind. But either way, they host it well in Tampa. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they host it well.
So in college football yesterday, of course, the college football playoff switching to a straight seeding model. We also have an update on the Presidential College Sports Commission, which is now not happening. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports, citing unnamed congressional sources, reports that the White House is pressing pause on the planned commission. This was the presidential commission that was expected to have Nick Saban be a part of it, a big booster from Texas Tech. And the overriding issue is still the same, as a lot of people have talked about in the meantime. Does college football need congressional intervention to get to where it needs to go? I know Danny White did an interview this week where he said collective bargaining is the only answer for college football's problems and college sports' problems at the highest level. It feels like we are trending that way, Ramon, where until there is collective bargaining where players can agree to things that college football decision makers want, things are just going to be litigated in court until that happens.
They are. Like, the issue is, like, the people in power just simply got to grow up. Like, stop running away from the fact this is almost a semi-professional operation that you guys have in college. Like, that's the biggest issue. I'm glad Danny White said it. I'm glad that it's in a position where at least somebody has said it out loud. So now the action's got to move forward. I don't think they need the Congress to operate this. Like, to certify it, cool. But this is something that if the NCAA wants to hold on to the idea that it's for amateurs, then create something that's for the amateurs that somewhat allows you to get paid. In a sense, the structure has to be there, because it's almost idiotic that it's going on for this long when everybody see what the answers are going to be in the end. Like, do you believe, Will, at some point a CBA is going to be established?
Yes.
So what's the holdup?
I do.
What is the holdup at this point? It's childish almost.
Yeah, it's. I think there are a lot of moving parts to make players employees is the problem. And then there's the hiring practices of, do you have to go through the same criteria and the same practices of hiring your football player employees as you do the volleyball team and the rowing team and the women's basketball team? Like that, all these things should have been figured out before pay for play was ever even made a thing.
They never thought anybody would sue them for the rights to get paid.
Right. Right.
We can go through this, but it's at this point, the adults are acting like kids is the way I view this one.
And the other day, I agreed. And the other day we talked about why, like, the NFL is different. Like, the NFL can make up rules that it can enforce and not get sued for because players have collectively agreed from the NFL Players Association to the rules that they have set. Not the case in college football, where only college football leaders have set the standard of this is what you can get paid, this is how long you can play, this is how many times you can transfer. And players sitting there like, well, we didn't agree to that.
Yeah.
So until they agree to it, you're just gonna get sued. Danny White in an interview literally yesterday says collective bargaining is the only solution. And Amanda Kristovich of Front Office Sports notes yesterday that Danny White is kind of the first athletic director to come out and say that up front, word for word. He again, and Tennessee fans, whether you like it or not, and I think there are some that probably don't like it, Danny White is leading the way in the NIL and congressional space.
Yeah. Like,
we essentially have here in Tennessee the guy who is at the forefront of all the change happening in college athletics, for better or worse.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the other side of it to me is, are you, with Danny White speaking out the way he does, are you afraid that he'll potentially get poached for that job, though, too? Because it seems to me he's got the mind space for it.
He gets paid very well by the University of Tennessee.
But to be a commissioner.
Very well.
You know, if we're going to go that route.
I don't know if he wants to do that.
He comes from that world.
Yeah. He comes from an AD world, though, in his family. True.
But if there's somebody that's already speaking of it, it seems to me like it's either him or Sankey, to be quite honest with you.
It feels that way.
I mean, yeah, it's him or Sankey. Like, just go ahead and just rip the Band-Aid off and start writing it up.
Ross Dellinger making the note yesterday on Twitter saying, some may be surprised to hear Danny White publicly support collective bargaining. He has been open about it for years. In 2023, he told Yahoo Sports, quote, I don't understand why you couldn't be a student athlete and an employee. There are ways to figure those things out. So he'll keep screaming it from the mountaintops and leading the way.
The issue is, I guess, the professors. And not just that. Let's go to Dundee Plowman.
It's one of the issues,
the president.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she is adamant about, like, having one of the best research departments in all of college, you know, and college academics. And that's where it becomes just a little bit problematic. Is there a separation of rules, though, too? I think they can do that more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there could be a separation of employment, athletic department versus educational department. That's what we've been anyway, right? Student athlete. Mm-hmm. They've had that label for a very long time. Just make it official.
Well, Ron Slay is going to join us here in the fourth hour. We can also play the audio of Dundee Plowman and Danny White. It was an interview that Dundee Plowman did with Danny on YouTube yesterday, and we'll get that for you coming up next, as well as we continue with Slay on this Friday after this.
Two Rivers Ford announces employee pricing for everyone. Every tradesman, every dad, every rising star. You pay what we pay. Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned. American made.
Ramon and Will on 104.5. The Zone continues. Do we have a live tracker on Ron Slay's whereabouts, Ramon Foster?
Not yet. I ain't doubting him, but the MRI can take a while.
I just called him. He said he's on his way. He's stuck in traffic.
Oh, hey.
Maybe it just takes a while for me.
Terrific.
Maybe I'm the problem.
I got the ends.
Should we tell people what our plan is for next week, Ramon Foster?
Absolutely. Let's roll.
Next Monday, Memorial Day, we will not be here. You can tune in. We will not be live for you.
I love a Friday when I can just turn off my Monday alarm.
That's right.
Oh, my gosh.
That is absolutely right. So I am off all of next week. Congratulations to the haters, of whom there are many. I will not be here Tuesday through Friday next week. You will hear a different voice every day hosting with Ramon Foster. Ramon Foster on Tuesday next week.
Yeah, looking forward to
Your
that
guest host will be Buck Rising. It's going to be Ramon and Buck on Tuesday. That is
R&B.
fantastic, I think. Fantastic for our listening audience who everyone loves Buck. There's nobody with divided opinions out there at all. He is universally loved and liked, Buck Rising. Nobody no haters whatsoever. I'm being sarcastic. That's okay, though. He knows it, and he gets it. And so you'll have Buck with you Tuesday.
Yeah.
You guys will reveal who the next host is at the end of every show. So we will tell you that it's Ramon and Buck Tuesday, and that's all you get for now.
It's like I'm up for adoption.
All right,
Pretty
easy.
much. I'm getting adopted.
Easy. No, it's like I'm just going on vacation. I'm not leaving.
Dad, come home. But yeah, Will, I'm looking forward to Buck. I've done this show in the 10 o'clock hour with him from time to time, and the vibes are good. Buck is, I think, high of Buck, man. I know I'm probably giving way too much. Where's Burt Walsh when you need him? Cut my mic off, man. But Buck, I messed with Buck the long way. Yep, see, there it is. Cut me off. But Buck is going to be interesting. He's usually up anyway at that time. He tells me he's working out and stuff. So I believe that to be true, but I'm very fascinated to do 4 hours with Buck Rising. Real question is, does he tap out at 10 o'clock?
I don't know. I think so. I think he's not going to do 7 straight hours of radio.
Can you imagine that, though? Can you imagine
7 hours of
oh my god
104.5 The Zone?
I did our
Buck or
show,
Scott Hansen,
and we did a Savage and I did a Friday
Savage
together.
Radio.
So Savage Radio is what it was. So I've done the 7, not 7 straight though.
I did 7 hours of track on Wednesday.
Sure did.
That's why my voice is a little calm.
You were excited about the finish, and what was it, 3A, 2A, men's?
Yesterday, the 3A guys state meet. Congratulations to the Farragut Admirals out of Knoxville. They were 1 point behind Whitehaven going into the 4x4. Both of them had 4x4s.
Yep.
And they finished 1 and 2. And in the final 100, Farragut had to outsprint Whitehaven to win the state meet by 1 point. 66 to 65, I believe, or 65 to 64. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It went like totally nuts. Them and NBA, congrats to them too. They did the same thing in D2 AA on Wednesday. They were able to beat Christian Brothers on the final straightaway to win the state meet on Wednesday. So it was really fun. There's track in the state is like exploding, man. It's like, it's crazy how many, like every girls relay record has been broken in the last year.
That's nuts.
State record, like some of them 20, 30 years old. It's pretty wild.
Is there, I asked this because I don't know, is there pole vaulting in the state championship?
Yeah, of course.
There is?
There was an attempt at the state record of 16-7. They didn't clear it, whoever it was. I think it was one of the NBA guys, actually.
Get out.
Yeah, they were pole vaulting up at 16 feet the other day. The guys were.
Okay, for
crazy.
Sure. And the only one, I guess, Olympic track question I have, javelin in this state, or is that like another region?
We do not have javelin.
Okay, all right. Because I wonder, like, I know UT, recruits.
Yep.
And the hammer and everything else, right?
Hammer throw is not a high school event either.
It's northeast or west coast, I'm guessing. Probably Texas.
Texas has everything.
Texas.
Florida has a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
California, Virginia is a really good track state. Georgia's
Virginia?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Virginia's got speed.
that's news to me. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that Tidewater area that Gerard Mayo talked about all the time. A lot of talent in that space.
Fair.
Fascinating.
Anyway, I won't bore people with the details. I know people are yelling at me to move on.
I know.
But
We're like 3 years ahead of like the Olympics. Stop. What are we doing?
that's right. In L.A.
It don't matter.
2028. Donnie Plowman and Danny White. This was the interview we were referencing a few minutes ago Justin, if we have this, talking about collective bargaining being the only answer to fix college athletics.
So let's talk about the other change. Like, you've ended up, in my view, as a leader outside of UT, trying to do something about all this change that's happening so fast. Well, actually, not fast enough, you might say.
Not fast enough.
No, I know it. So, I mean, how on a daily basis, how do you do both? You lead here, and I see you you can't stop yourself from trying to lead there.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit. That your dad didn't have to do that, did he?
No, it's challenging, and I see you struggling with the same thing.
Yeah.
Our job is to lead the University of Tennessee.
Yeah.
But we also have a national issue in college sports that's a real problem. I talk about like the Tennessee hat versus the college sports hat.
Yeah, there you go.
I've been probably wearing the Tennessee hat a lot more recently.
I've noticed.
Thinking about just what's our opportunity to be competitively excellent in this new world. But it's a real issue. We could go on and on about what we need, but I'll say it. We got a camera on us. I don't really care at this point. Collective bargaining is the only issue. It's the only solution.
It's the only way we're going to get there.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
That's the official position of leadership at the University of Tennessee. The only way we're going to fix NIL, transfer portal stuff with college football, the only way you can really make rules that can't be taken down in court is collective bargaining. It's Danny White and Donnie Plowman saying it right there.
And it sounds like she was already on board with that idea anyway, and that's what's most fascinating about it. Like, Tennessee, UT can't be the only school thinking these things.
No, and they're not.
And I know we're probably, just because we're in Tennessee, we hear this conversation a little bit more, but I don't know if I've heard it be this prominent at other institutions. And that's where I feel like if I'm Danny White, which is why I bring up the conversation about him being a commissioner. Like, if it's him that's got to lead the way or Sankey, like, somebody step up and start making calls. And here's the other thing, too. I feel like those calls have already been made. It's the pathway of how much money's got to be spent and who's going to delegate as far as making the rules into separating the educational department from the athletic. Because the other part of this is this, though, too. The reason I feel like more has to be done for the athletic side of things is, forget who I was listening to as far as the conversation recently. It may have been Chris Lowe on with 3HL.
Yeah.
But he was speaking about, like, when you win big, national championship in basketball or football, or you have a program in gymnastics like Auburn or Kentucky or whoever else, Georgia, right, that it attracts students to come to your school.
Yeah.
Alabama's enrollment goes up when they win a national championship.
Totally.
Tennessee beating Alabama, enrollment goes up when you beat a rival like that. So to say that they're not as important or they can't be considered the same as the forensic department at Tennessee or Texas or wherever else.
That's why Michael Orr didn't go there, because of the body farm.
Because of the body farm, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's according to the blind side, which is totally accurate, right?
It is important to get this together. Like, it's because one works with the other.
Yeah.
You're able to raise prices or enrollment because of the sports side. Say what you want to about it, but that does play a part.
Yeah. Next week, SEC spring meetings in Destin. That is, funny enough, where I'm going to be on vacation, because that's where the SEC goes to vacation. So maybe I can do some on-field reporting. Ron Slay has entered the building.
Go.
Ron Slay has had his muscles and joints zapped this morning.
Let's get the party started quickly. Right.
Set it up on her.
Hey, my boy. Hang on, yo. Set it up.
This is why Ron Slay we call the human equivalent of a Friday has just walked into the building. Ron Slay arrives when Ron Slay wants to arrive, and we're all right with that.
What up, Will Lee?
What's going on? How are you?
He made it.
Guess what, Savage? See, this is why Mike Buckner sent a private message saying, Slay, I think you the one that broke the mics.
No.
And I didn't listen, I ain't did it on purpose. You know what I mean? Listen, I just get excited when I'm in here.
You do get excited.
You know what I mean? That's how Will Lee. You got to love what you do what you love. You know what I mean? And we are in a position to do that. You know what I'm saying? So that was pretty dope interview right there. Who was that? Donnie and Danny?
Donnie Plowman and Danny White. Donnie Plowman turned interviewer.
What was that on? The Players Lounge?
I think it's just on the somewhere on YouTube. I'll go find it.
UT Sports.
That's pretty dope right there. Okay.
It's posted on the was it UT Sports account, if I'm not mistaken. It's posted.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna have to go dive into that, man. Hey, shout out, man. Let me tell y'all something.
What?
First of all, shout out to Premier Radiology.
I'm surprised we didn't hear your doctor again or radiologist on the phone.
You know what I mean? I got to give them some love, Will Lee. They took care of me, man. My guy Travis and Christina over there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Got me on in there. You know what I mean? Got me right on out of there. I went up there, filled a little paperwork, boom, bam, bip, get on out. You know what I mean? But I had to give them a shout out, though, because they love the show. You know what I mean? They listen to the zone. You know what I mean? Saw they Titans flag hanging. Yeah, Christina showed me a picture, you know what I mean, about 2 years ago. She said she want. I'll make sure you give me a shout out on 3HL from. No, Travis. Who else say?
Oh no,
Trent and Christina. Trent told me. Yeah. Trent said, man, make sure you give me a shout out on the show from Mama and them.
From Mama and them.
Mama and them. Hello, Mama and them.
Mama and them. I'll give a shout out. You know what I mean? So later on, I just wanted to throw that out there. But my knee. Hey man.
What?
I'm gonna tell y'all what. I'm gonna be real with y'all too, man.
Take your time.
Dog.
Take your time.
Like a lot of time we do endorsements, you know what I'm saying? And the stuff, you know what? I'm gonna be 100. I had a couple of endorsements come my way, and I didn't want to do them because one of them was a coffee endorsement. It was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't drink coffee.
I feel
so
that.
I can't, I'm like, dog, I would love to do it. I want the bread, you know what I mean? But I don't drink coffee,
that's a waste for you.
Yeah, like
you gotta believe.
That's all I'm saying.
You gotta believe in who you speaking of.
And see, I say that savage to say, Kellum Stem Cell Institute, dog. 2 weeks ago, I was at the MJ little Michael Jackson little boom boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Over at T-Pack.
Yeah, T-Pack. You know what I mean? At the Andrew Jackson little theater one.
We had the wedding.
Yeah, come on, Dree. See. Great pictures out there, too, by the way.
I saw one come up the other day.
I'm just saying. Yeah. So, might shut them with the world. Just give them a little glance behind the scene. But I'm telling y'all this, man. I'm sitting there it's about a 3-hour show, 15-minute intermission. So, big guys, the seats ain't really built for us. Where you can stretch out, you know what I mean? If you're about 6'2" and above, you might have a problem. You can get on the ride.
Yeah, I'm just okay.
You may be get on the ride wheel. So I'm saying that to say, man, my knees wasn't ready for that. So when I got up the next day, like the tendonitis had made my knees swell. I've never had this problem as an athlete.
Yeah,
you get a little bit, but you pop some leave and you cool. You get some stem, the ice, you good, ready to go. Dog, I couldn't walk.
Oh.
Like literally. And my left knee bounced back. My right knee said, no.
Yeah.
I'm really done with you.
It's so weird how different sides can be. Like one can give you trouble and one is fine, right?
Dude, and I never had a problem. I had my ACL on my left knee. Well, my right knee was like, okay, I gave you all these years, and you would still after the
Put
fact.
The team on my back.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And after the fact, you would still go to a place where you can't stretch me out.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make you pay.
Yeah.
And I was hobbling. Like, I was going to get some crutches, man. Like, I was out here limping around like it was crazy. So, Tuesday, I went to Kellum Stem Cell, got some fluid.
Nice.
30 cc's of fluid drained out of my knee. It was
you showed me
stuff.
The syringes.
Dude, that's crazy.
Well, they had 2 of them.
2 of them, dog. And I'm like, wow. So, that made the swell. That took the fluid out. Yeah, that's how I was looking.
Disgusting.
So they hit me with the A2M. They got another therapy with the A2M. Dog, the doc said, man, get about 3 or 4 days. Don't do no ice or anything. Today, that was Tuesday, so today's the 3rd day. Hey, man, I got to walk slower, but I ain't limping or nothing, dog. Like, this is like, so I went and did the MRI.
Wow.
Just to make sure. You know what I mean? It's nothing wrong, but dog, Kellum Stem Cell, if y'all not believers, if y'all done seen me the last 2 weeks limping, I ain't even got my leg sleeve on today.
Okay.
Like, I'm out here on Friday.
Instead of big pimping, you've been big limping.
Come on, heavy limping, Will Lee. I mean, heavy limping, man.
Shout out to the pimp.
Yeah, shout out to him, man. Yeah, man. Hey, man, another thing, Will, y'all hit on, it was cold. So, y'all talking about basketball.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shout out to y'all. See, this is the thing.
They say we'll talk about UT stuff, though.
Yeah, but they lying.
Okay.
Y'all bringing it to the light. And this, you made a great point.
Yeah.
You like to see the development of guys coming from the high school ranks to the college ranks, then get into the NBA. such as a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Totally.
My thing is that happens. Who's pushing the product though?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like throughout the SEC, we done seen it the last couple of years, and a lot of times it's where they go.
Right.
You know what I mean? And these guys are going into the league so young.
20-win teams.
Yeah,
like
you know what I'm saying?
Charlotte.
So you're going to be hidden.
Right.
Like, Brandon Miller is going to be an all-star. He's going to be a perennial all-star. He had a little bang-up injury. Well, they probably wanted to tank a little bit, so no rush him back. All that. But, that's a star that's going to be in this league.
For sure.
Jabari Smith that came from Auburn. There's a star. He just went to an AAU-like team with Jalen Green. You know what I mean? There's so many young players down there. Right. So it's hard to kind of for them to blossom. So you usually don't hear about them for 6 years. And in 6 years, shoot, we'll forget about a player in 3 months.
Right, exactly.
So think 6 years of being off the radar. So I think, man, the people got to do a better job of pushing the product. People got to do a better job of listening. And we, as analysts, got to do a better job of getting the story out there more than just, Cooper Flagg was the guy.
Yeah.
But, dog, Chaz had a hell of a year. DJ Wagner came on at the end of the year. We tried to tell y'all about Walter Clayton Jr. before we even got to the SEC tournament. Like, watch this Florida team. You know what I'm saying? The teams down there in Houston. You know what I mean? All around the nation is players, but it's hard, man, because what's going to push the needle is that mainstream franchise Zion Williamson.
It's like the NFC East talk in the NFL.
You know what I mean?
Take.
Like, exactly.
It's the equivalent of that.
Like, why we talking about Dallas?
But see, it's the same question.
Like, what we talking about?
This is the same conversation we had yesterday when y'all had me. You talked. I think it was you that asked me about the offensive lineman award.
Yep.
Dog, you know how many dogs? You know how many team builders? You know how many steady Eddies play that from tackle to tackle?
Yep.
Those positions. But what does the league do? And I'm a product of it too.
Right.
Trent Williams.
Yep.
Quentin
Lane
Nelson.
Johnson, Quentin Nelson. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's another one that's coming up sooner. You know what I'm saying? That we don't specifically talk about. Like, that doesn't mean that guy's the best. Like, they're really good. But there's a dude that's been dogging it for like 5 years straight, and nobody's mentioned him. No Pro Bowl, no All-Pro, or nothing. Like, so I'm with you on that.
Like, your 15, 16 year, you should have made Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, even if it was that as an alternate.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, buts about it. But you got to be able to put that in perspective, because I'm as savage, like, man, what's going on? Dude, when they come in there, just before you finna go out to practice, they hand you the sheet, and all you looking at is the name. Oh, there go Trent. Okay, we know him.
Exactly.
That's
right.
Will Bowling. Okay,
who have I heard? Oh, thanks.
You see, you can get a Pro Bowl now.
Wow, that's sweet.
So you come to the right show, Will. You get a Pro Bowl now. But that's the thing. You just going in uniform, and we got to break that uniform. And I will say, a lot of people have voices now with podcasts and things like that. So maybe it'll happen the right way. But but to your point, college basketball got to spruce it up. So
yeah, for sure.
You got to put somebody on there that's going to be exciting to move the needle like Pat McAfee did for College Game Day in football.
For sure.
Yeah. Don't wink at me.
615-737-1045 is our number. I know someone in the room who could bring a lot of energy.
I'm just saying, what we doing?
A lot of energy to a basketball College Game Day. SEC tournament, Tennessee and Vandy going to play Saturday. We'll talk about that with Ron Slay coming up next.
Hey.
Final segment of the morning and of the week here on Ramon and Will. We are brewed up by Scooter's Coffee. If you need that extra pick-me-up in your day, Friday calories don't count. Everyone knows that. And the cinnamon roll, that's what I say. It's all that matters, right? Not really. Cinnamon roll will be warm and fresh and ready for you. The orange velvet Red Bull transfusion I had the other day. Orange vanilla Red Bull, Ronsley.
Yeah, I like that.
Terrific.
I like that a lot.
They've got a lot of flavored Red Bulls that they do there.
Yeah, I'm a Red Velvet guy.
Where you can put a different kind of Red Bull flavor with their syrups they use for like teas or coffees. Oh.
That's interesting.
Man, when I was doing the state meet the other day.
That's for coffee, though.
No, it's for Red Bull.
Oh,
it's a yellow Red Bull with orange and vanilla flavor. It tastes like a Dreamsicle Red Bull. It's terrific.
See, Celsius might get mad at me though, man. Yeah, we got a unspoken little truth, man. Celsius got this cherry cola. Yeah. That tastes just like cherry Coke. It's amazing. Oh my God, at Buc-ee's.
There you go,
Buc-ee's. I don't know. You made a stop.
I had to make it 2 stops.
By the way, I've been gatekeeping from something from you too.
What, man?
I've been telling you I needed to take you to this spot in Gallatin.
Here we go,
dog. Fi.
What?
It's called what's the name of it? Foul Play Chicken.
Come on, Jimmy.
I've been gatekeeping.
Why would you do that?
Because that's Friday, and Will said calories don't count.
The hurt in Slay's eyes.
What's wrong with you,
about
man?
a chicken place being gatekept from him is crazy.
I don't do stuff like that, man. Unless you try to surprise somebody else.
That's foul play from you, Ramon.
It is a foul play from me. Don't do no hotter than first base. They got a fish sandwich over there.
You know I don't do no hot. I ain't gonna be on no bases.
By itself, it's best.
You're sitting in the dugout.
Yeah, I'm in the dugout. Yeah, no bases for me.
He in the bullpen.
I ain't got no time for that.
Ain't got no bases. You up on the mound.
Go in hot, come out.
I'm so proud of myself saying a joke at the same time as you. My sense of humor is getting better. I'm evolving.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, foul play so far.
Okay.
I've been gatekeeping it. What are you doing this weekend?
Come on, man. Nothing.
Us?
Watching Tennessee play Vanderbilt on Saturday.
Absolutely.
In the SEC tournament semifinal. The Vols might be getting hot at the right time. It's pending review. Our Ed Hockley is still under the hood, taking a look at the footage to make sure that the Vols might be back. Well, he's not yet confirmed after further review, but big one on Saturday, Slay.
Yes, indeed, man. Listen, I had a lot of people hitting me. Do they still suck? Yes. You don't win one game or 2 games and all of a sudden just stop sucking.
It's pending review.
Yeah, but see, the people always cling to what they want to hear anyway and just hold on to that.
That's true.
I said right now, this is a very talented team that hasn't put it together, so they suck. Until then, like, all right, it's a reason that Vanderbilt went up there and talked crazy in Rocky Top. You know what I mean? After getting the win.
They
handled you. Yeah.
Right.
So, guess what? If you don't suck, here's an opportunity to get some get back, but I do think they trending in the right direction. Like you do. One thing about sports, you can start to see when the momentum starts to turn. And when it goes, you know. So, Tony V, he's been struggling all year trying to put people in different spots. Yesterday, man, it looked like they took the accountability on their own and was like, you know what, we got to get this together. You know, so they look good, man. That was impressive.
Hey,
that was impressive.
What was the name of the shot that he hit over shortstop?
Does it the little
bloopity bloop?
Yeah, little bloopity bloop, little waggle right there behind.
New play-by-play broadcaster at 104.5 The Zone.
That was
put me out of a job.
Come on, man. Hey, no.
Mike Keith, watch out.
No, man, I'm the little dude sitting up there. You know how you go to these AU things and stuff like that, and you got the people that are running the event filming it. I'm the guy to sit my own little trap out up. You know what I mean? Don't mind me. You know what I mean? But I'm just in the stands calling my guy. Y'all still got y'all job, Will. All right, don't mind Wilkerson, Will Lee. They doing their thing. Tom Hart. I'm the dude down there in the stands with my own little mic, you know what I mean, doing my own thing. So.
Like a young Will Bowling that TV when he was younger.
Yeah, don't mind me, man. Don't mind me at all. I'm just having some fun.
I was going to say, because I'm solo for an NSC in Toronto FC tomorrow night at 6:30 if you want to stop by
don't invite me in there. We got a free weekend.
Come on.
Now, see, then one thing, you get a pay raise or you getting fired when I leave. I can guarantee you one of the two. That's all I got for you. Yeah.
Hey, Vandy man saying you just using reverse psychology on the ball.
He always says that, man. I'm not. Listen, I'm giving y'all every single time what my eyes see. Yeah, this is what I see. That's all I can give. I can't look that far ahead in the future. I can predict a couple of things, but it ain't a week away. You know what I mean? I can't give you number 1 or 2 days. That's it, y'all.
If we could speak things into existence into microphones, our teams would never lose.
Hey. Come on, dog.
Hey, we almost waterboarded Zeph yesterday. I'm telling you.
Dude.
This is no threat towards Zeph at all.
He jinxed in the Texas game or something?
Playing around, man.
He jinxed that. He jinxed the Arkansas series. He jinxed. He's the one that jinxed Liam Doyle. Like, leave Liam Doyle alone.
So he was doing for that what I did before the Georgia game in Athens that you got upset with me.
Bingo, Will. Bingo.
Giving the stats.
Yes. Like, dude, just let the game play out. Like, we know who we going for. Yeah, we going to talk junk to the fans.
Let it happen.
But, yeah, we not like, I'm not saying Liam Doyle finna go out there, pitch a no-hitter, 19 strikes. Like, no, man.
That blister's a problem for him right now.
It is. Yeah. It is.
You got to get that figured out.
I honestly, I said, man, coming into it, like, rest him all the way to the turn. Like, man, and then look,
Brandon Harbison came in.
Boy,
and
that boy came, boy.
He
put him on the stage.
That is what he was. That the Tennessee had hoped he'd be all season.
Yeah.
Guess what, man? This is what we've seen from Tennessee over the last 3 or 4 years.
For sure.
When the lights get the brightest, they step up. Outside of that home run team that couldn't do nothing but hit home runs.
Yeah.
Everybody else, like when they got to the main stage, even if they lost, you started to see guys step up and you was like, dang, man, it's a lot of promise. We're starting to see that from this bunch now. In this SEC tournament. Now, that's just a sample size.
See if they can keep doing it.
That's all I'm saying.
Because they're going to have to run back into them demons again. Like Vandy tomorrow.
We got them Saturday.
They might get their get back.
They might get Texas again.
It's set up. It's set up perfect for them.
Yeah, it is.
Like, you know what I mean? They embarrassed you.
Go
at home. Like, get some get back. If you really felt that way.
He is Ron Slay.
Was it Hunter Ensley that wanted to fight? That was somebody else.
Hunter Ensley, yeah.
Yeah, Hunter, here we go.
National champion Hunter Ensley. From Huntington, Tennessee. Back at it on Tuesday, Ramon and Buck on 104.5 The Zone on Tuesday. And then stay tuned at the end of every show next week. Ramon will tell you who's hosting with him the next day.
I don't even know.
You'll have to stay tuned. Really?
Buck gotta go. He gotta do his regular show too, dog.
Early morning Buck rising.
Sacrifice
good
like
contrast.
When he's well rested, he's irritable. Imagine what it'll be like at 6 a.m. Back at it Tuesday morning. I'll see you guys in a week.
No doubt about it. Y'all know how we do on Friday. It's beautiful outside. Y'all get outdoors, okay? But call somebody you ain't talked to in a while, man. Apologize to somebody if you feel the need to, man. Buy somebody a random drink. Hug your people. Call your people. Love your people. Savage, I love you. Will Lee, you my guy, and I love you too, my dog. But listen, at all costs, make it back to us on Tuesday. But your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.